I'm going to rename this layer Shirt Exercise. So Shirt and Exercise. And we're now ready to draw the shirt. So as always, what I do is I'll start from the guide and just draw a straight line up to the shoulder neck junction, another straight line, so click again to the shoulder point, and I'm going to use this blue arm as my guide for my sleeve. Come down underneath that arm and click and drag so that I can create the shape for that armhole over there. If I click back into this anchor point, I will delete that guideline. So clicking back into that anchor point, I delete that guideline, and now I'm going to create the side seam shape. Usually I don't come exactly down into my waist, I'll just come a little bit above the waist and just drag these guides out, these handles out in the direction of where I'm drawing next, and just to give it a little bit of shaping over there. Coming down to the widest part of the hip, I'll drag again and then click back into that anchor point to delete the rest of that handle and come to the center front, click. This time I hold Shift and drag so that I can drag those handles 180 degrees and make my curve from left side to right side nice and smooth. Having done that, I go back to my selection tool, my black arrow, keyboard shortcut is V, come back to my convert anchor point tool, and I'm going to convert this top neck line. So I click into that anchor point and once again I hold Shift and drag. Now I need to make perfectly sure that these two anchor points are exactly on top of each other. So I've gone to my direct selection, which, as you know, selects anchor points only. So you can see my two center anchor points are active. The rest of those anchor points are white in the center, which means that they're inactive. Horizontal align center, and now I'm ready to draw my button stand. So that overlap, this is my center where my guide is, and I'm going to draw in that little bit of extra for the button stand overlap. I go to my pen tool, rest it on that open anchor point, and you'll see that the pen tool has a / symbol next to it. If I click now, I join it onto the rest of that shape, hold Shift, and I close the shape. Each time I'm holding Shift to do that so that I have horizontal, vertical, horizontal line. I'm now ready to draw in the darts, and then I'll do the sleeve. So what I'm going to do is just draw in the shoulder seam over here. So click and click, just bringing that slightly forward of the back. The dart seam, the dart line I should say, click, click. These never ever go to the actual nipple point over there, they come just before. And this dart over here, the waist dart, the same story goes here. I'll start this a little bit lower so there's a bit more space. I just draw the lines in. I can manipulate that slightly as well, just by dragging it down a little bit and lengthening those handles to get a better shape. I don't want any of my lines over here to have a fill in them. I only want the background or the shape of the shirt to have a fill. So I'll select the shirt shape only and come to default fill and stroke. And there I have a white fill and a black stroke. Now I want to create the armhole, this sleeve. To do that, I want to copy this line over here. If I click onto that path, it will highlight that line only, and I can see it's highlighted only because the anchor point is white over there and over there, meaning that that anchor point is not selected. I'm going to copy this, so edit, copy, edit, paste in front. I could have used the keyboard shortcuts for that, which are, as you can see over here, Command on an Apple, Control on a PC, C for copy, and Command F. F means front, for front. So I'm going to copy to the front. What I've done is only copied that line. I'll put a fill into the fill so you can see that it's just that little line copied. Once again, I'll just remove that fill because it's easier to see what I'm doing without the fill. I go back to my pen tool and I'm going to use that blue line as a guide. I'll start drawing, so rest my mouse on that open anchor point, / appears. I'll come to about there and just put a little bit of shape into it, into the line, and then down to the cuff, straight across, and close the shape. When I see the circle, that means I'm closing the shape. Default fill and stroke. Very, very simple. If you had a deeper armhole, as in it was lower, you might want to shape that seam. You can do that by selecting the shape, and in the later versions of CC, if you click onto that Convert Anchor Point tool, you can see that there's that curved shape, meaning that if I just click onto that line, hold my mouse down and press, it'll put a little bit of a curve in it. Or Command Z, you can add an anchor point, convert anchor point, drag the handles out, and then with your direct selection you can drag it in to get a little bit of curve. That's if you want to. For this shirt, I think it's fine without that extra anchor point. I'm going to add the cuff to the shirt sleeve, and I'll do that by just using my rectangle tool. Zooming in, rectangle, and I might just rest my corner of my rectangle on that anchor point and start dragging to create my cuff. So having done that, resting the corner on that anchor point means that if I were, when I actually rotate this cuff to sit in line with the sleeve, I click onto that rectangle, I select my rotate tool, and the rotate fulcrum is in the center of the cuff. If I just move my mouse to the anchor point and click once, I've moved that fulcrum to that anchor point over there, and now I'm just going to rotate out, and using this line of the sleeve as a guide, I'm going to align my cuff with that sleeve. Go back to selection tool. How I can be absolutely sure and check that that's the right size is if I go into View, Outline View, and zoom right in, so keyboard shortcut for zoom is Z, so I can see that it's not quite in line and it's not quite lined up over there. So first of all, I will select that shape and just drag it in. So I can just fix that up a little bit if you're feeling very pedantic. So I've gone to my rotate tool, rotate fulcrum on that anchor point, mouse on the other anchor point, and just drag that into line. Selection tool, and I'll zoom out. I can go back to preview. And there we have the front done. The next thing that we'll do is create the collar.